I'm Ariel and I'm here today with Skully Designs for our 365-day project. We're on day 25 and today we're going to make fast and fun 2-in-1 placemats. So let me show you what we're going to need. For this project you're going to want two different fabrics so that you'll have one on one side of your placemat and then you'll have a completely different placemat on the other side. My sister picked out these fabrics. These are for her kitchen. Now she only has a small butcher block table, so she'll only be needing two. Depending on how many placemats you need or want to make will determine how much fabric you need. So you want to be able to measure out 12 inches by 18 inches for each placemat. You will also need some thin lined batting to put in between. It really doesn't matter what kind you get, you just want it to be fairly thin since we will be quilting these. You will also need, now my fabric's already pre-cut, so you'll probably need your rotary cutter and of course your mat, your ruler to measure out your pieces. You'll want some pins, scissors. You don't want these loose pieces of thread hanging around. They're coming off of my fabric. Binding tape. And normally I use sidewalk chalk, but my sister gave me these marking pencils today. So just something to be able to mark your quilting marks and measure it out when we get to that. You'll also, of course, need a sewing machine. So why don't you go ahead and cut your pieces depending on how many you want. You want your batting and both pieces of fabric for one placemat to be 12 inches by 18 inches. So do that for as many placemats as you want. And then I'm going to move this aside and show you our next step. Now, once you have all your pieces cut, you'll want to put them down facing one another, like so. So both focal prints are facing one another, and then you'll have your binding fabric on top, just like that. And you'll line them up really well and pin along all the sides. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to sew 3 sides and then down the 4th side, leaving a gap to turn it right side. So that's both of the focal prints right side facing one another, and then the batting on top. So you'll see the bottom piece of your fabric, the wrong side on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and pin this up and sew it, leaving a gap. And I'm going to probably sew 1/8 to 1/4 inch, depending on how well my fabric lines up. Let me go ahead and do that, and we'll be back for the next step. Okay, I've gone ahead and I've sewn all of my sides up, and I've left myself a small gap there to turn myself right side. I've also gone ahead and I've just trimmed and clipped each of the corners just on a small diagonal, making sure not to get my stitches while I do that, and that'll help keep your corners nice and crisp when you turn it right side. Also, when you're turning it right side now, make sure before you go on to your next step that you got all of your seams nice and tight and nothing's loose and open, because now would be the perfect time to fix them. So if you have to turn it back the other way after you've turned it right side, because you notice that after the fact, go ahead and do that, because it'll be the easiest and best time to fix any seams you might have missed, or a piece of fabric comes loose or something. So we're just going to turn this right side, and it's kind of a big bulky piece. So, and once you get it turned right side, you want to go ahead and poke all your corners out. Now you can use like a pencil eraser, the back of a pencil, to get it poked out to help you, or anything long and pointy, I would not recommend using a seam ripper, which a lot of people do use, because that will have the potential of ripping your fabric. So you don't want to do that. And I think I almost have all my corners here. Oh, get this one. So once you have all your corners poked out, you may want to iron your placemat down flat before you go on to the next step. But you'll see it's starting to come in shape. You got one side there, and then if you flip it over, you got a completely different placemat on the other side. But first we're going to quilt it to keep it in place and to give it a nice finished look. So you're going to go ahead and iron it if you want. If you got your seams nice, you can just smooth them out with with your hands too, as long as your seams line up well enough. You don't need the hot iron. Don't tell my mother I said that. She'd have a heart murmur. Then you want to take your ruler and either marking pencil or your sidewalk chalk. I'm going to see if this marking pencil will show up. You want to use this one special for fabrics, and of course the chalk, something washable. You don't want to use a pen or a marker or a Sharpie or anything that you can't wash away, because it will completely ruin your quilt. But what you're going to do now, you're going to make your design. Now you can do it however you want. You can do up and down lines, crisscross, zigzag. I like to just do a diagonal 2 inches going across my fabric. So I'll just line it up like this and go 2 inches all the way across. And then we're going to sew that without back stitching, just straight sewing, no back stitching or back tacking on either end. You're going to sew along all those lines you make to quilt it. Now I usually go diagonal all the way across one way, and then I flip it and go back the other way. So let me do one way before I flip and do the other side, so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about for those who don't know. So I'm going to mark this up and just sew the one side step, and I'll be back to show you. So I've gone ahead and I've measured 2-inch diagonals going all the way across, and then I sewed straight without back stitching, no back stitching, no back tacking. So you can see it's got that quilted effect. Now I can leave it like that, but I'm actually going to go back the other way now and diagonal the other direction with my stitches. And I still have the opening there. I just tucked it in a little bit as I did that, and I left it open still, because after I do my other diagonal quilted stitches, I'm going to bind this up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back, and then we can start binding. I have my project completely quilted now, going both sides, and you can see on the other side, this is where my opening originally was, and I haven't closed it up yet. There's 2 ways you can finish it off. Really, you can just go around with a quarter inch round stitch and be finished. But I like a more polished look, so I'm using this double bias tape, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it all the way around, sew it down, and then I'll be done. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do with mine. I did also end up using the chalk rather than that marking pencil my sister gave me, because to me the chalk is just more visible and it was easier for me to see and draw my lines for my quilting. Alright, I'm going to go put my bias tape on, and I'll be back with my finished Fast and Fun 2-in-1 placemat. And here we have our Fast and Fun 2-in-1 placemat. You have the one side, and then you flip over and you have the other side. Cute project, fun to make, very versatile. Make one for yourself and one for friends. Thank you for tuning in to our 365-day project. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on Facebook.